Hello, swivel heads. It's Greg Allison. We got a lot going on in the world right now. We've got United States prepared to make some major strikes on Venezuela. We've got tensions ratcheting up between China and Japan, not to mention it's all over Taiwan. And we've got tensions building. I would say that the whole reason that Israel is striking into Lebanon again as they're trying to wipe out the resurgency in Hezbollah, and they'll do the same thing with Hamas in preparation for another stage of war with Iran. Israel and Iran seem to be really heading for a bigger second war. So we've got all kind of things ratcheting up. We're going to talk about the Koreas. We're going to talk about several things tonight, but we're going to begin with this thing with the two National Guardsmen from West Virginia that got shot today, and right on the steps of the White House, basically, or the Capitol, somewhere, they got taken down by a individual who has a lot of problems apparently, and so we're going to talk about this. This individual, well, to back it up, guys. What we've had a case going on where there has been a lot of, oh, can't seem to bring up my live session here. There it is. Where we've had a lot of tension where the certain party has been putting out this narrative of everything the Trump administration is doing is legal. This is illegal. That's illegal. They've been claiming that ICE has been attacking U.S. civilians, American citizens, that is, and they've really ratcheted up these claims. And these so-called citizens that they're talking about are actually illegal immigrants. Some of them maybe, came in and maybe claimed for asylum. That may be their basis for that, but they granted asylum like handing out popsicles or water at a marathon race. So there's just a whole lot of questionable things involved with this. But the worst thing has been recently some of the Democrats claimed that the National Guard was going to start banging on American citizens. There's never been any plan for that. And so they've ratcheted up all this rhetoric, and what happens? Well, it just so happens that might be part of the case of what went on here. But the individual involved with this came over with an airlift from Afghanistan. Oh, yeah, the Biden administration let him in. Now, granted, there were people in Afghanistan who were our allies who needed an exodus from that country when it collapsed due to Biden's failed handling of it all over there. However, which was early in his administration, they didn't vet anybody. They just opened up plane doors and let anybody and everybody come in, just like with our national borders. So, did we get people that were inclined to, we'll say the word era with a T in front of it, ism? I'm going to be so careful on this platform. You just can't really speak English on this platform or any known language without getting not slapped down. Basically, YouTube's almost killed this channel. I even made nothing on this channel last month. And, I'm getting fewer views, losing subscribers. And so I think they're really putting the spikes in me here. So you can help me out by watching, by sharing my videos, by commenting below. We got to, there's some things you can do to juice up the algorithm. So I need all the help I can get on that, my friends. I will look at the chat a little bit later, and we'll go into it some. Oh, my eggs are over there. Don't forget me to have you guys guess the egg count at the end of this video. It's one of the game. I forgot that last time. So, what's the case? Is this a case of the heroism with the T in front? Is this a case of all the rhetoric that went out there? I mean, you start putting out this kind of rhetoric, sooner or later somebody is going to act on it. It's a traversity. I mean, guys, these guardsmen were just doing their job. They weren't assaulting anybody. They were just protecting the administration and Capitol building, the White House, just protecting it from people like that. We've got a lot of stuff going in this country today. We've got a lot of hatred, and these critical facilities are at a point where they're requiring some protection. And that's what they're there for. There's been a lot of lawlessness in the DC area. And when you look at all the people that are being incited to do things, that's even all the more reason to have some level of protection out there. And that's all these guardsmen were doing. They were just doing it, walking around, bothering nobody. And they were attacked. So that's a very heinous thing that's happened there. Let's do some shares here. We're going to go all into this, but guys, we got a lot coming down the pike at us. And there's a lot of reasons you need to be prepared and getting yourselves ready, getting ready for covering you, your family, and so forth. So we're going to do some shares here. I got to make sure I get this dialed up the right spot though first. So bear with me 1 second here while we do this. Oh, something going funky there. Let's see. There we are. I'll these little ads to the side here. This thing will roll. So this talks about the guardsmen were taken out. The guy that did the banging was Rob Manuel Lakanawal. I don't know how to pronounce that, but anyway, guys, I don't watch TV. I only read articles. I don't watch a ton of YouTube because it would take me 40 years to digest the amount of material I can get in, the span of 8 hours it takes me to put one of these videos together. That's why I'm always on here late. It takes a ton of time to put this stuff together, but I can't digest this amount of material by watching videos. I got to read news articles. All you guys are sending me videos all the time. You send me 40 hours worth of news of videos a day, I believe. I can't possibly digest that. I still have a day job too, so it's very difficult to do this. But anyway, I'm doing my best to get this out to you. So, so these guys were from West Virginia, and this does say that this guy came over with that withdrawal from Afghanistan. That's how this individual got here. Now, we did not vet those people coming over. Just like we didn't vet people coming into the border. We should always vet people that come into this country, especially from a country that has a lot of people who would like to do bad things to us. If you think that it was okay not to vet these individuals, put a 1 in the chat room. If you think they should have been vetted, put a 2 in the chat room. I'd like to see what you guys think about that. Also, if you think that the rhetoric might have had something to do with what's happened, put a 4 in the chat room. If you think the rhetoric had nothing to do with it, put a 3 in the chat room. So I'd like to see where you guys stand on these things. But anyway, so yeah, DC Guard follows months of demon rats stoking fear about military invasion. So, yeah, and there's your governor of Illinois. Chicago is going into the pits. Chicago is going to the pits. So, okay, baby girl thinks that the rhetoric had nothing to do with it. Okay. Well, in this case, maybe not in this case, because it might have been an active arrow with a T in front. I don't know, my friends. Could have been both. But guys, it's we're in some, there's been a lot of attacks lately where teenagers have been attacking adults, old people, they gaining up on them. And sometimes it's groups of girls even attacking mama and daughter. It's complete strangers. This just goes to show the lack of respect for human life and human dignity with children that aren't being raised by 2 parents and what's going on there. I know a lot of us have been single parents or are single parents, at least in my case, at least when I did separate with children, I worked very closely with the other parent. We didn't play each other off and play games like that. A lot of parents do that, and it's awful. You got to work with together to raise the kids either way. Whether you're together or not, you still need to work together to raise your kids. It may be hard to do with some people. But anyway, so so here's what the lamestream news media is claiming. Trump put them in harm's way. What? For protecting the Capitol, doing their job. See, they're trying to blame it on the T-man. They're trying to blame it on the guard. There's some social media place called Blue Sky where the people are making comments, like the left did about Charlie Kirk. Just a lot of sick stuff out there, a lot of sickness, a lot of mental illness. I think, well, what didn't that open? Okay, I got a site here. It's jumping on me. I can't get it. Every time I try to click it, it goes somewhere else. I don't know what the heck that is. That's weird. Ding, ding, ding. Well, that's totally weird. What's going on there? Anyway, so here's one where they're posting stuff like that. Just all kind of stuff. So an interview Sunday. Oh yeah, this is where they were saying that urging military members not to follow illegal orders, but they're also saying that the military would fire on civilians. That the National Guard would. That's not what National Guard is all about. So see, there it is. See, and the National Guardsmen were going to start banging at American civilians. Wow, that was not helpful. And this was Sunday, just before all this stuff happened. That was not helpful. Now, it is true, and every member of the military knows you're not supposed to follow illegal orders. But these same people that went on TV claiming or made that video, the same six Democrats that, impelling the troops not to follow illegal orders, couldn't tell you what the legal orders were. Uh, so there's just a lot questionable there, a lot questionable. So were they trying to commit sedition? If you think they were committing sedition, by trying to challenge the military, basically stand down and not follow orders, put a 6 in the chat room. If you think they were not, put a 5 in the chat room. I'd like to know what you guys think about that. So that was primarily to do with this Venezuela stuff. But, this is a mistake. But what they were doing is claiming that all the stuff going on by ICE with the immigrants was illegal. ICE was doing the job they got, that we elected the president to do, because the biggest issue on the minds of the public at that time was the issues with immigration. So they're trying to, in fact, Trump still hasn't deported as many people as Obama. So, but it's okay if Obama was doing it. But then again, suddenly now they want to have votes in their districts, because there's claims now that 6 to 8, and some people are saying even more, representatives in the House are in there on that side of the political spectrum because of counting noses of people that are in this country illegally that don't have the right to vote in the first place. So why should those noses be counted? You see what I'm saying? Of course, a lot of them are probably voting too, even though they're not supposed to. So at least that's what some people think. I'd be careful what I say. I might be gone tomorrow for saying some of this stuff. This platform has gotten real testy. I got to be extremely careful. So, in order to justify taking out Maduro, he's been classified as the head of a crime syndicate, a drug cartel that has been declared as an international terrorist organization. And it's Cartel de los Sols, which is like Cartel of the Sun. Now, some people question whether this is a real cartel or not a real cartel, but they were actually referencing this thing there. In fact, Colombia was complaining about this cartel many years ago. So yeah, there's something to it. It may not be a highly organized cartel, but there's something to it. But then again, this is the justification they're using basically to go in there. Now, a lot of people throw out a lot of different things as to why it's happening, but know this. This is a lot bigger than just Venezuela, this Southern Spear operation. It's really aimed at, I've said this for a long time, it's aimed at China, Russia, and Iran having influence in the Western Hemisphere. See this? This is the Hill. This is that political rag that if you go, I don't know what if it, these days when you don't print newspapers, but back when I was running the halls of Congress for the National Space Society, we would go into cafeterias and all the congressional office, and you'd see the Hill sitting right there. This is a newspaper that was published for the politicians up on the Hill. That's why they call it the Hill. That was its main audience, but now it's online. Everybody can read it. And so they mostly try to be politically neutral most of the time. But so it's interesting to see that he'll come out and make this statement. And I know a lot of you still don't think that's the case, but let me show a couple of other things. Look, this is a huge problem. I mean, right now, Trump is trying to set spheres of influence that America is dominant in this hemisphere, and we're kind of backing off a little bit from some of the other hemispheres of the world because it's really hard for us to be the world's policeman, especially with $38 trillion in debt. But we don't need these other countries coming in our backyard and jabbing us because we got a strategic threat from the Southern Hemisphere. And one other YouTuber, somebody mentioned this in the notes section of my previous video. There's another YouTuber who is retired Green Beret or Special Forces of some type who travels around the world a lot and makes a lot of YouTube videos. He's been to Venezuela. He's been to a lot of these other countries, and he is claiming that Iran wants to get nukes down to Venezuela and use them to attack America, which fits the vision that Stacy Savicki had that I covered in my video previously. So that's kind of interesting. I've been talking about that for some time. Why? Because Venezuela has several nuclear powers that operate in its vicinity. If they go offshore from Venezuela, outside the waters of Venezuela, Venezuela may have nothing to do. Any of these countries could just decide, hey, we're tired of America bossing us around, and they could launch an EMP attack on us, and we're done. That's it. It's over. You don't need a full-scale nuclear war. An EMP attack will finish this country. I've covered that before. And it will be horrendous. And a lot of people just don't get it in their heads what I'm talking about. Go back and watch some old videos. But anyway, but here is everybody says it's about the oil and gas. I hear that all the time. It might be a little bit, but know this. Maduro offered Venezuela's oil to Trump to avoid a conflict with the United States. He basically says, hey, I'll let your oil companies come in. He even offered to kind of get the influence of Russia and China and Iran tamped down, but I guess there's not a lot of faith in that. See, Hezbollah went into South America through big time through Venezuela, and some of those guys came back up and crossed our border. But there's huge Hezbollah camps inside of South America thanks to Venezuela, not just in Venezuela, but they came in through Venezuela. The administration, Venezuela leader Nicolas Maduro has offered to open up Venezuela's oil and gold projects to U.S. companies in an attempt to appease Trump administration and avoid conflict. The New York Times, is a left-leaning rag. There was one reported on last Friday. So I've been saying this for a long time. Finally, even the lefties have had to admit it. And I imagine that was kind of hard for them to do. So ask about the reports that Maduro offered everything in this country, all the natural resources, these tensions. Trump agreed. He offered everything. You're right. You know why? Because he doesn't want to around with the United States. F around and find out kind of thing. But the United States declined. The United States declined that offer. So that's why it's a little hard to swallow that it's just about oil and gas. A little hard to swallow when we were offered the oil and gas. I don't think Maduro is very trustworthy. No, he's not. He's a communist. There's no communist that's trustworthy anywhere. It never has been, never will be. On that, you can trust me. Show me a trustworthy communist leader anywhere in the world. They rise to power and with autocratic means, and he stomp on everybody. Look what Pol Pot did to his country, wiped out half his people or a third of his people, some ginormous fraction. 60 million lost in Russia, way more than that probably under Mao Zedong in China, where you think maybe up to 80 million. Horrible, horrible. We probably should have done what General Patton advised us to do right at the end of World War II, and that was to go straight in to take on Russia. We probably should have taken them up on that. It would have saved us trillions of dollars, the entire Cold War, and would have saved a lot of lives in Russia. All those people that were off by Stalin would still be here, and Eastern Europe would never been taken over by Russia the way they were if we'd have listened to Patton. But that wasn't politically expedient. They didn't want to do that. Besides, if they'd done that, they wouldn't have all the tensions to lead up to what the likes of General Pike was talking about, perhaps. I don't know. So take that for whatever it's worth. I don't know. But Eisenhower didn't want to go along with it. Mainly because he wanted to be a politician. And he was hoping that Stalin would negotiate. He could trust Stalin. Yeah, right. Little did he know, right? But at least he confessed when he left the Oval Office that somebody else is running our country. And JFK tried to say it when he was in the Oval Office, which wasn't too smart. Anyway, driven by Venezuela. Now, say this article claims it's all about oil because this is from Tehran. This is Iran. So what do you expect? So anyway, here's the strange thing. Let's talk about China here a minute. China has an unprecedented number of ships in the U.S. Arctic waters, according to the Department of Homeland Security. We don't have hardly any Coast Guard up there in Alaska. Alaska's got more coastline than the rest of the United States put together. Probably times a good factor. I have to go back and look at that. Maybe twice as much. Alaska's got a lot of coastline. And China wants the Arctic. Not only that, they like to steal fish everywhere they go too. So, and we don't have, so this year the Coast Guard commissioned a new icebreaker. Well, good. What's that get us up to 2? China's got more icebreakers than we do. Why is that? They're not an Arctic nation, but they claim they are. They want to be. Oh yeah, one I didn't put in there was an article from about Russia. Russia is actually going to build a new space station and going to put it in a polar orbit so they can monitor and lay better, stronger claim to the Arctic and Antarctic. Interesting. Very, very, very interesting. Well, troops near Venezuela have been denied holiday leave, not just Thanksgiving, but Christmas mainly. I don't think anything's going to happen on Thanksgiving. Probably not this Friday, although it could start Friday. A lot of things do start on Friday, especially bombshell reports get released on Fridays because they think nobody will read them. But I kind of expect this to kick up really soon. It turns out that Trump's going to give Madeira a chance to talk. You've heard a lot of stuff in the last 2 or 3 days. Every YouTube channel's been out there barking except me, saying, "Oh look, there's all these B-52s. There's all these B-2s all heading down to Venezuela. The war's about to start any minute." I've been saying that for 2 or 3 days. There's posturing. We're still posturing right now. It could start, but I don't think it's going to start tomorrow. But Thanksgiving Day, I kind of doubt it. I kind of doubt we're going to start a war on Thanksgiving Day. Although, because that's our holiday, not their holiday. Back when the British troops were enjoying Christmas real well, George Washington put a surprise on. He crossed the Delaware, right? And it made a critical victory for him. But still, I don't expect this. They're not celebrating Thanksgiving in Venezuela, so we got nothing to gain by hitting them now. We got everything. It's not a good time for us. So I think it will probably wait to early next week. But I don't know. It's hard to say. But we've got all the chess pieces in place, and it's expensive to have all those chess pieces in place. So I'm expecting something pretty fast. Okay, I must have shut down an article I didn't want to. What happened here? Go back here. I am expecting something to happen pretty fast. I had some more stuff on this. I think I must have accidentally killed an article here. I know I did because I don't have as many racked up across the top. Sometimes it happens when I go through clicking on this. So what I was going to show you that I don't see here, which I might just have it out of order in this lineup. I try to get not only to read and digest these articles, I try to put them in order and line up to keep the story flowing. I put adjacent articles together. And so I have to kind of juggle them around on here. But anyway, what I was going to say is that Trump's saying that he had talked with Maduro. Maduro wants to talk with Trump, so they're probably going to have a conversation. And that conversation may stop the war. It might. Because Trump says, well, hey, what Trump had said was, well, I don't want to have to offend people needlessly. He says, but if we have to go to war, we will, basically. That's what he said. Maybe in different words, just to paraphrase it. He says, I don't want to needlessly waste lives, but if we have to, we will. So he's got some demands in mind for Maduro, and I think it means he steps down. I doubt if Trump's going to compromise on anything else. I could be wrong. He's surprised. Let's look. He had Mandani, or whatever his name is, the new mayor of New York, in his office, and they seemed to have some kind of love fest. Some people claimed he was playing 4D chess, and it was really to force the Democrats to embrace him because suddenly Trump's bringing him in. People make excuses for everything. I don't know. A lot of the members of his administration were really shocked by that. And some of them started talking about Article 25 because this is something's wrong with Trump. They did not expect him to be hugging and kissing with the new socialist commune mayor of New York. So just, there's something strange. But Trump, we don't know what's going to happen here. That's the bottom line. We don't absolutely know what's going to happen. But if it is a war, and it could dang well be because we got everything arrayed down there, uh, you can expect it would have a blowback here in the United States. There are members of Trinidad Agra, which is the Venezuelan cartels here. There may be some of that cartel of the sun here in the United States are probably related. Will they act as sleeper cell agents and damage this country if we attack Venezuela? Or are they too self-interested, too self-absorbed to want to get involved in? I don't know. It's hard to say. All I know is you better be prepared because things are getting crazy in this country. Things are getting nuts. Things are getting nuts big time. Trump's been doing some strange things lately. Yeah, it's just hard to know where he's going to go. So when he starts talking to Xi Jinping about Japan, I kind of get worried. Like, what's he going to give away? He's got Japan, and Japan's standing up doing, I think, the right thing right now. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. All right, here. Russian drones breach NATO airspace yet again. Yet again. Now, this is the 25th of November. It's a couple of days ago. But these things just keep happening. Why? NATO member Romania scrambled jet fighters as two Russian drones crushed in the country's airspace. This was Tuesday, and they went deep into the country, too. This wasn't some accidental foray. They went deep into the into Romania, pardon me. So why does Russia keep doing this? Why is Russia just keep testing NATO? Is it to see NATO's resolve, how NATO respond? Is this so they can figure out how much they can push on other countries around them? Maybe take Moldova, go for the Baltic countries. I don't know. It's just really odd. I don't really think Russia would want to attack a NATO nation. Let's hope not. But here, this is one of the drones right here that landed on a rooftop in Moldova. And it's typical, the Russians like to paint a Z on a lot of their equipment. I don't know, is that the Russian swastika? What is that? What? So, highly strange, highly strange. And it's amazing that it seemed to have landed kind of gentle and it didn't make a big hole in the roof. It didn't go through the roof. So it must have been sputtering down and just come down right on the roof like that. Usually you'll see a lot more damage associated with something like that. There may be some metal bent up here. Maybe, yeah, looks like it's crinkled there a little bit. So it probably did do some roof damage, but not as much as I would have expected for a drone of that size. That's a big drone. I bet it made a lot of racket when it landed on that metal roof. Looks like it's metal. Although it could be, we got in the United States, we got some pressed paper looks like that, but I don't think anybody want to make a roof like that over there, top of their home. So it's probably metal roof. Yeah, if something like that landed on my roof, I'd be running out with a bang bang. Oh, what's going on? Anyway, so U.S. Secretary, Army Secretary, this is Dan Driscoll. He's basically told Ukraine, says, hey, look, you're facing imminent defeat. Point blank. He just told them. Driscoll told his counterparts that their troops faced a dire situation on the battlefield and was suffering imminent defeat against Russian forces. According to two sources that told NBC News. He didn't tell NBC News, but some other people basically reported what he was telling them. This is Dan Driscoll, the Secretary of the Army. And, the reason Putin's not compromising is Putin's already figured he's going to win this. Was it that city I've been naming starts with a P? I got brain lock right now. That they've been fighting over. Basically, Russia's about took it, and from there they got railheads and all into the Donbass, the rest of the Donbass region, other areas. Russia might be able to move real quick and take a lot of land fast. So I think Putin is smelling victory. So why is he going to give up anything if he's smelling victory? So supposing Ukraine's come back and agreed to a U.S. brokered peace proposal, and it's not the 28-point plan. I think it's like a 19-point plan or something, far less points. But supposing he's agreed to this now, even though Europe don't want him to. But he's saying there's still much work lies ahead. Like he wants to negotiate more. But Russia is not buying it. They rejected it. Rejects concessions on Ukraine as leak call shows Witkoff advising Moscow. Supposing Witkoff has been trying to tell Moscow how to talk to Trump to get him to agree to things. I don't know. That's kind of weird. But there's Witkoff and there's Putin. So for whatever that's worth, Steve Witkoff. Now he's over there negotiating, supposedly on behalf of the United States. Let's hope he's not telling somebody else how to negotiate with our president. But anyway, Trump on Ukraine ceding land. He says Russia might get it anyway over the next couple of months. So he and Steve Driscoll and quite a few others, including Vladimir Putin, all seem to be thinking that Ukraine can't hold it in spite of whatever. That seems to be a consensus among everybody except Europeans and Ukraine and certain people here in the United States. So, but Ken Starmer, he's demanding that British troops remain in Ukraine under a peace deal, direct challenge to Vladimir Putin. Guys, the whole reason Putin went into Ukraine was to keep Ukraine out of NATO and to keep NATO out of Ukraine. He didn't want to see any NATO forces in Ukraine because Russia's been getting encroached on, encircled from every direction, and Russia is very paranoid of being invaded. In this case, I think it's an unwarranted paranoia because I don't think the Europeans got it in their knickers to do something that bold. They may talk it, but they don't have the forces to back it up. They got a loud mouth, but they don't have the rear end to back it up, in my humble opinion. So they're over there yapping, warmongering, but they really, I don't think, got the wherewithal to pull it off, especially United Kingdom. Because United Kingdom don't have a big military anymore. It's weak, yet they talk a big game. It's like a banny rooster that crows real loud. So, they were once the greatest empire on the earth, the empire the sun never set on, but they're not there today, no longer. So it's a situation that they're not facing reality. As a matter of fact, I think a lot of the war hawks here in this country, Lindsey Graham and quite a few others, aren't facing reality either, and that we live in a multipolar world today. That they still think that they can have influence by sanctioning Russia, but Russia got ready for that, and they pulled. When we pulled Russia out of our world banking system, our money exchange system, what's that called? It's what's that exchange called? I'm getting brain lock again, but anyway, know the name of what can I think of? Anyway, so we pushed them out of that and froze their assets, but Russia and China had already been working on another system. And they've been using the system that China set up under BRICS, and they're taking the whole world into that, and it's devaluing the heck out of our dollar, and it's causing us to collapse. It's backfiring big time on us while they've been doing just fine. So, and we've sent tons of armaments. We've sent a lot of stuff over to Ukraine, a lot of money, a lot of arms. Uh, the only other choice is World War III. And why in the world do we want to go to World War III and burn our homeland up over a little strip of land in eastern Ukraine that questionably doesn't want to be part of Ukraine anymore anyway? So I don't know, there's two, three you might argue with that point, but why do we want to risk the whole world over that? Why is it worth it? Is it really worth it? Or we got to look at there's what you might want and what reality is. My dad used to say, take a dump and take two hats, take a dump in one and wish in the other and see which one gets full the quickest. And we got a lot of wishing going on, and we think that we're still the unipolar power we were in the 1990s after the Soviet Union fell. And it's just not quite the case anymore. China's been rising fast, and Russia's been doing a lot of stuff. They're not the country that they were under Yeltsin. And Putin's got a lot more resolve than that old drunk Yeltsin. But whatever the case was, we might have liked Yeltsin. It's too bad that our companies went in and tried to pick the bones of Russia apart like a bunch of vultures and the Russians turned to us for help. They had the expectation America would help them out and would be good to them, but instead we went over there and tried to pick our country apart, and that's why they kicked back, and that's why a big part of why Putin rose to power was he defended their interest to some degree, although he was basically still a oligarch. He's looking after the oligarchs, and most of their companies were taken over by what had been the grime syndicates before. So, Russia's got some problems. It's not, they got some problems, but still, you got to reckon with them. And so Putin is saying, hey, Britain's to blame for blocking peace. Just point blank. I said to you guys, how many times have I said this? This is an article that just came out yesterday. I've been saying this for a long time. And, it goes back to uh, Boris Johnson telling Zelensky not to go forward with the peace deal he was negotiating back a couple of years ago when Ukraine had a lot more land than they got today. It would have behooved him to not listen to Boris Johnson and sign the peace deal. But no, Boris Johnson told him, don't do it, don't do it. Now look where they're at today. So, Boris Johnson ought to be ashamed of himself because he's got blood on his hands, in my humble opinion. A lot of people have passed away since then, soldiers and civilians on both sides because of that. But that's what politicians do for you. Anyway, now you got to understand something about the China. We're going to talk about China for a bit. You got to understand something about the Chinese media. It belongs to the Chinese Communist Party. They don't publish anything unless it's approved. Now, they may put out stuff for the sake of rhetoric, but it's still approved by the Chinese Communist Party. And these days, the Chinese Communist Party is almost wholly run by Xi Jinping. He's consolidated power to a very high degree. So when the Chinese state media calls for nuclear strikes over Japan, that's crazy. That is just off the wall, bat guano crazy. But that's what they're doing. That's exactly what's happening there. Not only that, some of the people in the media there have called for her head to be removed from her body. Talking about the new prime minister of Japan, Takehachi, or however she pronounces her name. So I think this lady I think she's spectacular. She's a Japanese Margaret Thatcher. She's an Iron Lady, and she's realized what Japan's up against, and she's not alone. She actually has got like 80% approval in Japan. Can you imagine somebody in the United States, any politician getting 80% approval? She's really popular in Japan because of her stand up against China, because the Japanese are really worried about China, really, worried about it. So this stand has made her very popular there. So the Chinese have said retract your position, talking about, hey, we got to defend ourselves, and if you take Taiwan, our survival is at risk as a country. And that's absolutely true. So are making a statement and saying that as part of their own defense that Japan may have to defend Taiwan really infuriated China, but it's true. And so what they've done is a couple things. They're putting missiles on their island, which is the Chinese, excuse me, Japanese island next to Yonaguni, I believe is the name of it, over next to Taiwan. And they're also going to be invest a lot more in their own defense. So, and Taiwan has come out. I saw a picture still in this article. It's a different article. Taiwan has come out and said that they're going to spend $40 billion to build their own version of Israelis' Iron Dome. Taiwan's, because missiles are how China, mainly what China was going to use to attack Taiwan at first. They were just pummeling with missiles before they sent in their invasion forces if they went under a military attack. So Taiwan said, hey, we're going to put $40 billion into our own Iron Dome. And so they probably want to have this done right. Well, hey, thank you, Colorado Jam, for sharing all those links. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. She's a great super trooper, and she donates to my cause here. She sends me a check every few weeks in the mail. So salute to Colorado Jen. All right, great mod. So guys, a great supporter of this channel. Guys, here's the case. If China wants to invade Taiwan, they would probably want to do it before this missile system got in place. Maybe before Japan gets their missiles put in. So there's a probability, because even more likely, that they might go for April of 2026 or October 2026. If they can't quite pull it off in April, 2026 suddenly becomes a year that China's interest in making a move, if they're going to do it, may be a lot higher. And if China, I'm not saying it would go nuclear, but you got to realize to take America down doesn't take a nuclear war. When you got sleeper cells in this country, when you're hacked to the hilt the way we are, with all our critical infrastructure, they got our power grid hacked, they got our communication systems hacked, they're ready to take out our water systems. They've been surveying our bridges, our dams, our power plants, all our critical infrastructure. And they got military-aged men all across this country. They got people bringing in biological agents to the universities. Then we found that biolab in Reedley, California. How many more of those are there? China is ready to take us to our knees, and they won't need a nuclear war to do it. Although they're also ready to take out our command and control structure so that we couldn't launch one in retaliation. They're looking at taking out our satellites, taking out our key transmitters, taking out our aircraft. That's why they buy all this land near our military bases. People, wake up. Wake up. This is why we got to be prepared. We always think that we're invincible. Well, thank you again, Colorado Jen. We always think we're invincible because we have been for a long time. But we've sat on our comfortable laurels for way too long. We're like the Roman Empire on the precipice of collapse. I'm not saying we have to collapse, but we better be really smart and shrewd as a nation going forward. And if this nation does collapse, you got to be smart on your own to get through the times ahead. This is why I tell you guys to prepare. But that's also in Colorado Jan link to Freedom Restoration Foundation. Thank you for that. If you go to the Action Center page and scroll down, you got all the information you need to contact your Congress critters or your representatives at the state level. And it tells you how to contact them, phone, email, mail, and how to write letters and emails, how to address them, and how to do things. So you can take it upon yourself to use that resource. I pay for that out of my pocket. I pay for that out of my pocket. And they charge me every month for that. And I get yearly charges too, and it's not cheap. So make use of that resource while it's still up there, because my finances may be getting real strained here real soon. So make use of it because you can influence those Congress critters, those politicians. And what's politics? Many ticks, many bloodsuckers. But I have had much influence on them in the past myself, so I know it can be done. Back when I was running the halls of Congress with the national space, I've had huge success, and I know we can turn a lot of things. We're at a point right now. We do have, we got some people up there just serving themselves, but we can have some influence. But still, you got to be able to take care of yourself in case all that fails, especially if the political winds change and the socialists take over our government like some of them would like. Now, here's what Taiwan has said about China. China cannot peacefully coexist with democracies. And one of the reasons I offer for why they want to take Taiwan so bad, of course, one, it opens up the first island chain strategically. It gives them the ability to really hit the high seas and strike out against Guam and Hawaii, maybe our west coast, our left coast, West Wokistan, as I call it here. But it gives them a lot of ability to get out and cause mayhem in the world. But also, to China having a free people that are also Chinese, are ethnically the same people. The Taiwanese are Chinese. It's just a different China. Having them living in prosperity and peace with a democracy flies in the face of everything they're trying to teach their people. Oh, only our system works. Nothing else works. But all you got to do is cross the Taiwan Strait, and you got a beautiful, shining example of a proud, free people living in peace and doing quite well, thank you, without communism. So, and they're living much better actually than the people of mainland China. Because most of what you see in mainland China is a facade. There are still a lot of people in China living in poverty. If you don't believe me, watch this YouTube channel called the program called The China Show. Anyway, but see, China's putting these surface air missiles, SAMs. That's a defensive missile, by the way, a SAM is. It's for taking out attack aircraft on a strategic island just 70 miles from Taiwan. And they're saying this could be just the beginning, as if other things might get put out there. This is the island right here, Yanaguni. And this is how close it is. Right here it is. And there's Taiwan. Also, the Japanese are really concerned about Taiwan's Navy and its submarine force. And they have a right, if they want to cross, okay, if China wasn't planning to invade, why would they be worried about it? If China wasn't preparing to invade Taiwan, they shouldn't be concerned about this because this only kicks in if they're invading Taiwan. China acts like they should have the right to invade Taiwan and nobody else should talk about it. Well, Japan begs to differ, and I agree with them. China threatens to crush any foreign efforts to defend Taiwan. But there's been there's been a lot of war games and simulations run in which, dozens of them, hundreds of them in the U.S. would lose, and tons of these simulations. But with Japan in the picture, it changes. Now, this simulation supposedly has the West winning, but at great expense. 2 aircraft carriers sunk. That would be horrendous. A lot of other ships. But the PLA Navy would be left in shambles. And this study says Japan holds the key to victory. Ooh, maybe that's why China is so unhappy. Maybe they know this. Now, what I don't know, and I kind of doubt, and not a whole lot said about it in here in this article, a lot of ads and junk like that. What I don't know from this article is if this simulation that was run accounted for us only having a couple of weeks worth of ammo or less. A lot of people said we only got enough ammo to carry us 2 weeks, and that's where we play whack-a-mole with the Houthis. So how much ammo do we really have? Can we really sustain this? whatever the case is, we would do a lot better if Tokyo is behind it. So that's the bottom line. So it seems like this makes a critical difference. And I believe it could. Because Japan also has a blue water navy, not as big as the United States. A blue water navy is a navy can sail anywhere in the world. China is trying to step up to that, but they're not quite there. The only blue water navies right now in the United States, Japan, maybe a little bit, Great Britain, United Kingdom, but the United Kingdom don't have a lot in that either. Japan probably has more than them. But Japan had a constitutional deal where they couldn't do anything aggressive militarily, but they could defend themselves. Well, now they're looking at attack on Taiwan as being a threat to their defense and their existence, and it is. If we could talk about that more in the future. I've kind of mentioned in the past, but it isn't an existential threat to Japan because 90% of Japan's oil goes to the Strait of Taiwan, and Japan is a country that is, they do a lot of manufacturing, but they're reliant on the rest of the world for resources. So, I did have that open here. Okay, I had it. Right, we already covered this. I can wipe that one out. So now Peter Zion, this guy here, you probably hear Nate talk about him a lot, and I've talked about him a fair bit because he's a geopolitical analyst. He's world famous. He's really out there. He's got his own YouTube channel, and about 20 dozen other YouTube channels copy his stuff, probably illegally. And so he's very popular, talking about political theory and geopolitics. But he's been saying, and you might have heard him say that China has only got 10 years and then China's going to collapse. China's going to collapse within 10 years. The problem with that is he's been saying that since 2010. He started saying that 15 years ago. Now, this year he's putting out new videos claiming China will collapse in 10 years. So that's kind of like Greta Thunberg or or Al Gore. Come the year 2010, there won't be any more snow in the world. Remember that? The Arctic will be ice-free in 2010. Y'all remember those kind of claims? I don't know if he said 2010, but it's like in the near future. But he always changed his date going forward, right? So, I don't know, this sounds kind of like that. So he keeps making these claims. Well, I've shown you in a couple other videos how China can employ robotics to make up for these demographic shortfalls and basically conquer the world. And China is investing in that very heavily, just like I said they could and would. And China has got no shortage, despite all these economic malaises that they have, and they do. They have no shortage of mega projects going on right now. They got a big fusion thing. They're building giant dams everywhere. They're building a ginormous military control center, 10 times bigger than our Pentagon. They're investing real heavily and growing their military very fast. They just sent a probe to a quasi-moon asteroid. I'm going to do a video on galactic grids. I'll probably film it tomorrow. I've already done all the research for it, and it will probably be posted in a few days. I might throw some special effects in it. But guys, the China is planning to build a moon base. They got a space station. They've had some recent problems with a module that got hit by debris. They've sent up a rescue module, automatically piloted, go into it. So China has got a lot of capacity, and they're really developing and moving out in spite of their economic malaise. They do have economic malaise, but they are working to try to get around it. So don't discount them just yet. Don't discount them at all just yet. So look out. If in 2010 when Peter Zion first said this that it came to pass, we'd have been good 15 years ago. So according to him, China should have collapsed 15 years ago. So don't count on it. Don't count on it because this is beginning to sound like you're not going to get any more snow. Oh yeah, by the way, aren't we got some record snowfall coming this weekend? A lot of places. That's what I've been reading. Record snowfall all over the country. So yikes. Now, Yemen declares support for Lebanon amid Israeli aggression. What's going on here? I told you a long time ago that the whole reason that our administrations in Israel was going after Syria was because Syria was a base for Iran, and that Israel did not want to have be hit from their left flank when they would go in and strike Iran. The day was coming in to have a war with Iran. We've already seen the first 12-day war act of this. It's not over. The reason they're going back into Lebanon is to take out Hezbollah. So you can expect a lot of stuff to go on there. You can expect this thing with Gaza, peace treaty aside, if the Hamas don't just lay down and roll over, there's going to be more stuff going on there too. And it's just not in the nature of Hamas to want to do that, despite all the suffering of their own people. So Israel don't want trouble on their flanks. And so they'll probably hit the Houthis again too, because the Houthis are, they're like, honey badgers. You keep hitting them, and it's like playing whack-a-mole. They just keep popping up, and they've got a lot of missiles from Iran. Iran has a lot of missiles, and what Iran threw at Israel earlier was their older stuff, just because they wanted Israel to exhaust their Iron Dome. Those Iron Dome missiles are expensive, so Iran's plan was just to fling a lot of cheaper stuff, but their later missiles were having a lot more effect right toward the end of the 12-day war. And so another missile war from Iran would not be pretty on Israel, because they've still got a lot of missiles, and they saved their best for last because they want to exhaust the Iron Dome with their cheaper, less capable, older stuff first. So we can expect to see a little bit of the same strategy, but they're getting to the point they got the more modern stuff. I don't know how fast Israel can rebuild their Iron Dome, but they have depleted a lot of their stuff. And we depleted a lot of our stuff too, defending Israel, stuff that we're going to need for China. So I think as long as we've got the threat of potentially dealing with China, potential war with China, which China will probably take to us whether we want to be in it or not, then we ought to limit what we do elsewhere in the world, anywhere else in the world, unless it's got something to do with China. Of course, Iran does. Iran is a China ally, they're a Russian ally, but still, uh, I think we need to be out of the Mideast and out of Europe. That's what I think. And I think we need to be real careful and try not actually have a war with China. But maybe over time, if we're lucky, China's robotization will hit a snag and Peter Zion's prophecies will come true. So, but don't hold your breath for that. Do not hold your breath. Yeah, they do have a terrible upside down demographic, but robotics might make the difference. And they're definitely working on it. I've showed you a lot of the robotics stuff. That's why I show you that stuff, guys. Uh, leaving the alliance. South Korea's president wants to drop military exercises with the United States. They got a leftist president, this Lee Jae-myung, or however you say his name. And even though he's cutting a deal to get a nuclear-powered submarine for the United States, not nuclear missile carrying, but nuclear engines to run it, kind of what Australia is aiming for. Even though he's cut a deal for that, he got elected, claiming that he wanted to strengthen ties with China and North Korea. And he seems to be trying to do it. But, read about China. Hey, Colorado Jam. But a lot of the young people there ain't liking it. Anti-China sentiment grows in Korea, fueled by politics and sour relations. So there are a lot of young people in South Korea actually wearing MAGA hats. I kid you not. Carrying Trump posters and wearing MAGA hats. They are protesting against China big time. Can we get some of those young guys over here to educate our young people who really think China is the the be all end all. We got a lot of young people in this country who've been misguided through our school systems, which is probably paid for by the all those Confucius institutes that China funded over here, all the money they pump in our universities. What a shame. What a shame. But a lot of our young minds here have been convinced that socialism and communism is the way to go. But the people that had to live under it in Eastern Europe and the people that are directly threatened by it, like these South Korean young people, they don't know part of it. They know better. They know better. It'd be nice to get some of that enthusiasm over here before we crumble just from ineptitude. Anyway, all right, let's look at earthquakes. We're almost done with the news portion here. Let's look at earthquakes. We got one down here right on the San Andreas almost, and Gilroy, California, 3.9. We got a couple over here in Stanton, Texas, and Garden City, Texas. We got this in Carlin, Nevada. A couple up here in Susitna, Alaska. Hey, I lived in Alaska for years. That don't mean I can pronounce everything up there. Alaska's a huge land. And a lot of it's a native tongue. The native tongue up there is a little different than the native tongue. For all where I grew up, a lot of places had Indian names, but they sound a lot different than ones in Alaska. So now, if we come out, look at this. Look at this. Wow, Indonesia area and Philippines, all this area has been rocking hard. Look at this earthquake. We got a 6.6 and Cinnabang. Cinnabang is banging. And then right next to it, probably an aftershock, 5.0. And I can't pronounce that. I'm not even going to try. Then look over here. More in this part of Indonesia. Indonesia is a huge islands nation. 4.5. Now that's in the Philippines. Right next to it, 4.6. This is also Philippines up here. 4.5. Up here in the northern Philippines, 4.9. Then we got down here in another place in Indonesia, 4.6. Now look over here in the Loyalty Islands, 5.2. Oh, we got some over here around Hawaii, don't we? Forest, Hawaii, 4.6. And South America's got a lot going on. So that's, we see this kind of stuff like in the Kamchatka Peninsula. Over here in 4.4, they had a huge earthquake with a tsunami that wiped out their submarine base there. Caused a lot of people to want to strike Russia at that time, especially after the Operation Spiderweb by Ukraine took out a lot of their strategic bombers. I think, we should strike Russia now. But still, they got a lot of nuclear reserves. That's mad talk. Some people don't have walking around sense, I don't think. So, all right, let's look at space weather. This is our last news item we're going to cover. We got some fair aurora tonight, that yellow area over a lot of Alaska, Bering Strait, northern Siberia. Pretty red up in there. And a little bit down into Alberta. We got Arnold in the house. Arnold, can you see any of this tonight? So I don't know, but look at the sun here. This is from Mars. This is the Perseverance rover on Mars. And when they take this photo that looks washed out from sunlight and process it, they can see some huge sunspots right here. Wow, that's huge. Those are scary. The last big ones we had on our side last was in the northern hemisphere. It looks like that's in the southern hemisphere of the sun. And that may be coming our way soon. Let's hope it's not popping off some ugly stuff. And yeah, some fair sunspots there. Well, these are kind of blurred out. You don't get a good image of them. But we do have a coronal hole. That may be what's the main thing kicking off our aurora right now. And asteroid report. We had one come in on the 22nd near the geosynchronous satellites. And finally, we can look ahead to the 30th. There's one coming between the Earth and the Moon on the 30th. We don't usually see these until it's the past. On the 26th yesterday, we had one just outside. We had a couple just outside the geosynchronous satellites the past couple of days. That one is more closer to the moon, 7/10 of the way to the moon, but it's still coming in between the Earth and the moon. So usually you don't see these ahead in the forecast. You see all this behind the forecast. So we're still finding a lot of asteroids, a lot of the near-Earth asteroids. We're still discovering them. That guy right there, 338 meters. That's a whopper. We would not want to encounter that one. That could destroy a continent, basically. Anyway, my friends, we'll stop the share. So we'll look for the chat over here on the computer. See what folks are saying over here. Let's switch now. I'm not going to read all the comments like I usually do because we've already been on for 65 minutes and I need to keep these short to get more viewership in the morning. But while we'll look at any comments from any super chats or, my supporters first. We got an old hillbilly in the house. Good to see you, baby girl. And Zen Jammin', he's used the first one. Yes, his family's Zen Jammin', Traveler. And David E. Morales, I hope I said that. Hi, Greg. It's good to see you, old friend. All right, thank you. Good to see you. Oh, yeah, it's Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. I should have said that up front. It is Thanksgiving. My mind is still yesterday. Old as dirt. Good to see you, old as dirt. Anna, how's that pronounced? Nuts. So, Jason Chapman. Yeah, we're on roll 8 tonight. Early morning. Hey, we got 12 Bravo, Georgia. Good to see you in the house, Jason Chapman. The fentanyl is coming from Mexico. Well, yes, I've always said that. It's not about drugs. It's not about oil. It's about political influence. It's about China, Iran, and Russia's influence. And North Korea is also involved heavily with Venezuela. I've been warning about this for a long time. I warned about this before Trump was in office. In fact. So I've been warning about this for some time back. I've got turkey in the oven. All right, good, Colorado Jet. Dump the gamer. Yes, he has been doing some strange things. Thank you for sharing the goldbacks. Yeah, guys, if you're wanting to invest in gold because of what's going on with our dollar, go to defythegrid.com. They got a deal there. If you can find a better price anywhere else, they'll meet it or beat it. And thought I had to go. I got to go back right here somewhere. Keep it in the drawer just to show y'all. I used to carry my wallet. The other one's there now. Let's see here. Where'd it go? Got away from it. I'll find it later. Yeah, I lost my main light that I use in here at night. I used to have another light, give me a little more brightness. I don't know where it went. That's odd. Missing some stuff. Anyway, so and Eden Brothers and True Leaf Market. Yes, sir, guys. Guys, you better be planting your own heirloom seeds. France is in there too, but yeah, hey, I did a video about France, about them maybe being too big for their knickers, old as dirt, trying to play games that they're probably not up to, and didn't get a lot of views. And I've done some videos. Some people chastise me when I do these war videos, but then again, if I do a video on something else, it just tanks. This is what people seem to want to watch the most on this channel. But even these aren't been doing that well lately. I don't know why. Maybe because I'm not being so radical. Like, there's a channel Hookstead. He's every minute, going, "Oh, we're about to attack right now. It's coming right now. We're about to hit them." or that's what you got to do to get views. You got to just go off the charts with stuff, or all these videos with the thumbnails. It's over. I did a video one time said it's not over. I remember that because I got tired of saying it's over. It's over. Every now and then it might be over, but these people that put that on their thumbnails every day gets kind of old to me. Or red alert. Every moment's a red alert. Sky's falling. Anyway, we got threats, but I'm trying to be sober about it. But it kills my channel. And then people complain anyway. So really, you can't win. So, yeah. Well, actually, I think Arnold probably went to bed. Yeah, where is he at? Yeah, we don't see him. Alrighty, guys. How many eggs I harvested today? I didn't get any yesterday. How many eggs I get today? Actually, they're over there somewhere, but I'll grab the cart and just y'all guess how many eggs I get today. First person guesses wins the gratitude. You win the contest, which gets you gratitude. How many eggs to harvest today, folks? Everybody needs to be growing their own food. You need some protein sources too. I had planted a big garden. I did get a lot of spaghetti squash and some pumpkins. Corn and beans didn't get it. Keep guessing. Hey, Sergeant Phil, how you doing? Old as dirt. Keep guessing. Keep guessing. I haven't seen the number yet. First one I see that gets it gets the kudos. There we go. Orwell 2084. I got 2 eggs today. I didn't get any yesterday. Yesterday was only second time I didn't get any. But yeah, 14, I wish. If as we move more into the colder months of winter, I probably won't be getting any eggs for a while. But Orwell 2084, you got it. Salute you. So let me. Hey, y'all, the sun, how you doing? Perpetual Thanksgiving. Yes, we should have a perpetual Thanksgiving. That's a great idea. We should always be thankful for our blessings each and every day. Because, we're lucky just to be a human being. Think of all the creatures on this earth that are not humans, that can't appreciate things, that can't reason and think and see the universe and appreciate the beauty of a sunset or of a Grand Canyon or big trees and forests and waterfalls. Most of these animals, they just run through it. They don't really see the beauty in things that we see. I don't know, maybe some can, but most of them don't. Just think about, you could have been an ant or a beetle or something, right? Or a microbe. That's what most life on Earth is. A rat, squirrel, frog, a turtle. Be thankful you're a human being. Be thankful you got a mind. Be thankful that we live in a great free country. We've got threats. We got a lot of things that threaten us, but we still got a lot to be thankful for. And we should never forget that. I want to look here to see if anybody sent me anything through my website, because I know we got a couple people that sometimes aren't into the chat room, and occasionally I'll see something, a donation. If I get it by this means, I do want to give credit. Hang on. There'll be a new article there. I got a video I'll be releasing soon on Galactic Grids. Oh, nothing tonight. Okay. Nothing tonight. What was that article? I scan hundreds of articles every day. What is ESA claiming? Ooh. Comet 3I Atlas. ESA new observations reveal visitors' precise trajectory. Whoa. A way of living. Bingo. Exactly. A way of living. Having a heart of gratitude. I still got air to breathe. I got food to eat. I'm not freezing to death. It's 70 degrees, and I did turn I got to put in a new bottle of propane first thing in the morning. I'm still using propane heat, but I got a wood stove set up over there I got the flue running out to the wall, just haven't gotten running all the way up outside yet. So we're working on the flue. Not the flue, but the stove flue. Uh, got hey, I got a garden, chickens, two cats to keep the rats away. We got a lot of good. The best thing was the family and friends. My family's all doing well. I got a lot of gratitude for that. I got some bright young grandkids. They're the future. They're beautiful. They're brilliant. They're good kids. I'm proud of my kids. I'm proud of my grandkids. They're all good people. I got no complaints in that department. But I tried to raise them that way. I really worked at it. That's what everybody's up. Put attention in my kids. And like I said, I did cooperate, even though we went up divorcing after some time with the ex-wives. I did cooperate with them closely toward the raising the kids. It made a huge difference. Cats are great helpers. Yes, they are. Four Corners Report. How you doing, Four Corners Report? I hadn't seen you in a while. Volcanoes popping off. The sun's betting at us. Yeah, we got volcanoes popping off all over. We got volcanoes been dormant for tens of thousands of years. Like we got one in Ethiopia just popped off. One in Iran. The one in Iran, I think, was dormant for they claim 700,000 years. Crazy. You think it'd be extinct. So that just tells you any volcano can go. We know that Mount Rainier is rumbling. Mount Rainier can spell doom for Seattle. But what happened in Kamchatka Peninsula? They had that subsidence type earthquake, caused that big tsunami there. And then a day or two later, they had a big volcano go off inside. So these can be connected. If the Cascadia subduction zone goes off, you expect Mount Rainier to go off. It'd be like you're getting floods one side, then Laharis from the other. Seattle is not a place to be. Portland is not anywhere on the left coast is not a place to be when you look at San Andreas Fault and the Cascadia subduction zone. And new analysis says that they tend to go off one right after the other. So people have been thinking you might have one or we might have the other. Oh no! And they also realize that San Andreas Fault can erupt faster than the speed of sound. They're making a lot of new discoveries and they're scary. I'm gonna tell you something. If you're in Los Angeles and all those freeways fall down, you're not getting out unless you got a plane ticket, or you can get out by boat or a helicopter. Roadways are going to be a shamble. And not that many. So you're going to have it's going to be hard to get food and water and things like that, fresh water and especially food and fuel into Los Angeles with all the highways being wrecked. So if the big one hits, you will not want to be there. You will not want to be there because there's going to be a lot of cannibals in in the city of Los Angeles. I've always said, don't be in any big city. Try to get out. But if you're in those cities, I would not look. All these cities that suddenly got so woke that they're defending criminals. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't have a judgment coming. I would not want to be, especially those cities. Anything near the New Madrid earthquake zone, East Coast might see big tsunamis. I'm expecting some judgments might be coming to some of these places. Guys, I would not want to be living even near any coastline. It's probably not good right now. So I would highly encourage you to think about where you're living. How secure is your neighborhood? Do you have military bases that could be targeted nearby? Do you have prisons nearby that the detainees would get out and ravage? You got to remember, even regular people are going to be ravaging when they get hungry. But what is in your neighborhood? There are people growing their own food. How many preppers? What's your ratio of preppers and non-preppers? Around here, a ton of preppers. More preppers out here than anywhere I've ever seen. More homesteaders here than anywhere I've ever seen. So things to look at. I have a go bag, a minivan. I'm going to go park on 101. Wow. So everybody needs to think about if you're gonna bug out, where are you going to? There'll be a lot of people in the national parks because that's where everybody's going. You might want to find something else more remote. Out west, there's a lot of federal owned land. It's not all in some of them being in national forest, but maybe not a national park. So you might want to think about some of that. Although they would try to limit sometimes who goes and what they do. But if everything collapses, maybe they don't care. Won't be anybody to care, maybe. So be thinking about it, folks. And you got to figure out how you're going to get out fast. How you going to communicate with your family if you've got other people to get out. If these things aren't working, what are you going to do? Think about that. Alice is on its way to a Lagrange point on Jupiter, so we're safe. Hey, Anton or Anna. See, Anna the in knots. Okay, are you in knots? Well, I talked about that in my last video on galactic dregs. Yeah, and I talked about the Hill radius around Jupiter. It's not necessarily going to a Lagrange point, but those Lagrange points really define where that Hill radius is. It is going within the Hill radius, just barely. That's interesting. Very, very interesting that it's had that kind of course correction. So it's going to keep going. It's got so much momentum. It'll keep going unless it just suddenly throws on some brakes. Major thrust and retrograde to its direction of travel. So I expect that but it could drop off some probes. Very well could drop off some probes. The long collimated jets that have come out of from so many multiple directions don't make any sense to me from a natural standpoint. It should be rotating, and I could see maybe the tails should be pretty much like they are. But those collimated jets that are pointing at the sun when there's more than one, if it was just the sun affecting it, it should just be in one area. But no, it's not what we got. There's something really strange about this. Something really strange. YouTube messed up my name. It used to be an emoji. Now it doesn't make sense. Oh, well. Well, YouTube has a tendency to do that. There's a dormant volcano 40 miles away from it. It's called Long Cone in Norwood, Colorado. Well, let's hope it don't go off. I don't expect they're all going to go off, but we have had times and eras in the past in Earth's history that have been a lot more volcanic. And there's nothing saying that we won't get times like that in the future. What the geologists really worry about is scenarios like the ones that caused the Siberian traps or the Deccan traps in India, where huge areas, like way beyond supervolcano erupted. And that would be the end of civilization. We've had a nice little summer here in our existence, but it may come to an end. That's another reason to go out into space. The surface of a planet is not friendly in the long term. It gives you a chance to bloom and bud like flowers in the spring and summer, but the falls and winters come. And civilizations have cycles. I'm planning to do a video. I don't know what you guys think about it. I'm planning to do a video about cycles of civilizations. And I'm going to talk about how if a civilization existed on Earth during the Ice Age, you would not see a trace of it today. And why I would expect it. One should have existed at that point. What do y'all think about that? Absolutely, we should have had a civilization back in those days, but you would not see a trace of it today, hardly. And so I think something happened when the Younger Dryas occurred. And I think it ended a major civilization. A lot of BLM land in wilderness areas. The state is trying to make it off limits to people. Yeah, they are. That's a problem. That's a problem. And it's because a lot of, this whole camping thing, van life got more popular. And that should have been a good thing. But a lot of people just don't give a rat's say about what they do. They go places and throw out trash, they write graffiti, they don't have walking around sense. Some people got no sense, no respect for anything. They don't respect each other. They don't respect the land. They don't respect the parks. They don't respect nature. They don't respect God. They don't respect themselves. If they did, they wouldn't do drugs the way they do. They still, yes, do it. All right, we got one person say do it. I think we see the traces, but those in power don't want us to know. I agree with that. So tell me about it. How many of you want to see me go into this? It's a little bit off topic, but it is a prepping topic. In that, if you look at cycles of civilizations, you realize that we're also in a cycle, and our days may be numbered as we know them. Don't mean you can't survive and thrive and come out on the other side of it, but you got to be prepared for it. But I think there's really strong evidence of it. Really strong evidence of it. And I think it should have been. It should have been. So who else would like to see that or not like to see it? I like a little bit more input. Hey, from Australia, that'd be a great, Greg. I really enjoy watching and learning from your perspective. I'm sure there'll always be similarities from what I've learned. There you go. Andy Sings. How you doing, Andy Sings? All righty. Hey, we don't have our buddy Rodney in the house, do we? Where's Rodney at? He's on this late. Rodney pops in. Well, Colorado Jan, I hope your turkey's doing well. We're missing Rodney. We're missing New Days. We're missing quite well. She's probably cooking. Arnold. Yeah. We got 89 in the house. Not too bad. We got a few people I haven't seen in a while. That Four Corners report. And the in knots. All right. Nobody said don't do it. Yes, I was talking to long. I was talking to long to type my chat post above. Thank you as always, brother. Hey, Andy Sims. All right, very good. All right. Guess those are galaxies you're showing there. Folks, be thankful that we are living in the good times we live in. Most of the history of the earth, the weather has been far more chaotic. We've had a nice little calm spell, especially the last, a little over 100 years. The weather's been calmer than it used to be historically. A lot of people don't recognize that. We've had periods where volcanoes, like in 1817, there was a year without a summer because the volcano Tambora went off in Indonesia, and it was really hard. A lot of areas of the country, especially in the Northeast. But back then, people were a lot more resilient than they are today. So, our systems are so finely tuned, so just in time. Our civilization is not prepared for the kind of things our world's faced in the past. All you got to do is press in on Gnostics hard. Well, I'm kind of interested in some of that Gnostic way of looking at things. I agree. Have you ever touched on UN DRIP? DRIP, United Nations Declaration on Rights of Indigenous People. They're starting to take our land up here in Canada. Uh-oh. Look, they want to do anything they can to take you off your farms. They don't want anybody to be independent. If they can do anything they can, there's been a huge move, especially in blue states, liberal areas, a huge move to do things that would take out homesteaders and small farmers. You look at Oregon, they try to take away your water rights. It's all kind of nutty things. nutty stuff. They don't care. They're happy. What they want you to do is buy all your stuff from factory farms where they spray it to the hilt with all kind of nasty stuff and expect you to eat it and enjoy it. They don't want you to have good, wholesome food. They don't want you to be independent. This whole thing last time went around, they shut down all the mom and pop businesses, mom and pop shops, because they said, oh, somebody might get the bug. Yet they let the ones where big crowds congregate, like Wally World, stay open. Did that make any sense? They shut down churches in a lot of places, but they let the liquor stores stay open and the bars stay open. What sense did that make? Missing the birds. Oh, I got some birds out here. Amazing, almost every inch of the planet you can find life. Yet it's so delicate at the same time. It is delicate. It is delicate. And we do need to respect nature. And we're pumping a lot of plastics into our environment, a lot of PFAS chemicals. It's affecting the hormones of people. It's affecting animals too. It's affecting animals big time. And so we need to cut that crap out. All they want to talk about is climate, and they're not focusing on where the real threat is. The real threat is PFASs and microplastics. That stuff's nasty. They want to worry about us pumping out plant food. Like I said, Al Gore, what's he been claiming since the late 1990s, early 2000s? Yeah, he made a lot of claims, didn't he? Old as dirt. Not for less. I hadn't seen many birds. Either one of you? Yeah, I hear bird populations have dropped in a lot of places. That's really strange. The Great Reset, you will own nothing and be happy. Yeah, that's what they tell us, Sergeant Major Phil. They say that you'll have no privacy. You will own nothing and you'll be happy. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. That's where they want us in their 15-minute cities, maybe strapped into our pods. So our mind's connected to internet. We're living in a matrix. And probably with an IV and a catheter. You don't ever move. Turn into a big blob like Wally. What was that cartoon, robot cartoon, Wally? All the people were big blobs living on gurneys. Well, they'd probably love that. We need better glass bottle. Amen. It's the sodium chloride layer underneath you being destroyed. I'm gonna tell what's happening to all the chemicals going in our environment, guys. It's really messing a lot of stuff up. It's stupid. Hormone bending stuff. Well, they don't want men to have a backbone. And they don't want free countries. They want everybody to be subservient little daisies. Whatever you say, big brother. Whatever you say, big brother. Well, yeah, big brother. Oh, you say, okay, big brother. It must be true. Big brother said it. Yes. Yeah, I heard it from big brother. It got to be true. Yep. Yep. I'm happy. I got nothing, but I'm happy. Lordy. Lordy, Lordy, Lordy. They don't want you to have any family either. Just live in your little pod. Oh yeah. And I need to do another video on this topic about going into the hive. Remember what Mr. Schwab's minion was telling us? Free will is an illusion. You don't have a soul. You got to take these implants. Yeah, right. I hate to warn them. I hate to tell them, but knock, knock, knock. We have souls. You've got a spirit. And don't let them take it. You have a spirit. You have a soul. And right now, the biggest war isn't World War III. It's a war for your soul. I'll do a video on that. I'm going to do a video on that too. Yeah. I'm serious, guys. You've got a soul. And there is a greater creator. And I do believe in Jesus. So, see my share of mosquitoes. Amen. From them spiders. Lordy, lordy, lordy. Tornado warnings. My son saw the leaves off of a tree and thought we had been hit. Oh, guys, November. Yeah, I hear there's been a lot of big storms out east. I heard what earlier today, Alabama was under a storm threat. I don't know. I don't have tornadoes out here. No tornadoes here. Thank God. Amen, all the sun. Amen. So, what I tell you? What's the first rule of prepping? Really, the first rule of prepping is to be right with your maker. Be right with your family and your friends. And you got to remember the threes. You can survive 3 minutes without air. That'd be hard. Most people can't do it. Hold your breath 3 minutes, see if you can do it. You can beat the environment. The cold can take you out in 3 hours, even if it's too cold or too hot. So the environment, you can survive 3 days without water and about 30 days without food. So the first thing you got to make sure of, you can breathe, which means you might need a face mask if you're in an environment where they may want to be putting agents out that would inhibit your breathing. Or if you have a major volcanic event, you need to have cloth that you can put over your face and mouth and wet it so that the ash gets caught in that cloth. If it goes in your lungs, it can destroy your lungs. Uh, you got to hunt shelter real fast. Shelter is actually more important than water. Water is far more important than food. Most people just think about food. Oh, what am I going to eat? What am I going to eat? Because you feel hunger all the time. If you don't have water, you're in serious trouble, my friends. That's why I did a video before I talked about wild edibles on this channel. Before I went into wild edibles and all that kind of stuff, I did a video about many means to purify and sanitize water. That's two different things. Purifying and sanitizing water are two separate things. I covered that on this channel many years ago. Then I went into talking about wild edibles. Maybe I can do another wild edible series out here because the plants are way different. And I got some learning to do in that regard. I do know some of them, but there's still a lot to learn. Uh, Wild edibles are huge. You got to understand that, and you need to know how to garden and raise some food. And I did a lot of videos on how to garden. So a lot of the preliminaries are in my older videos. I've talked about how to survive nuclear war. I've talked about bugging out. I've talked about shelters. I've talked about tactics in the video about how to survive EMP. I went into tactics, how to flush out a sniper. I've covered a lot of material on this channel. Those nuclear survival ones, you need to watch them. Potassium iodine for any nuclear fault. That'll help. Also, pectin. That helps too. Pectin and potassium iodine. But potassium iodine helps the younger people more than the older people. It's something a lot of people don't realize. And if you got kids around, you better have plenty of pectin around for them too. Pectin is the same stuff you use when you're making jams and jellies. But apparently that helps absorb a lot of the radioactive materials that come in through your digestive system. Everyone's on the run in the lower east. They're trying to get in and trying to get out. Game over. America's best secret is no longer a secret. So there's just a lot of things you need to know. I've done videos on grid, surviving grid down, the EMP. I've done videos about just bugging out. I did videos covering what zones in this nation would be safe and what wouldn't. And I did that with and without nuclear war. I did it with a perspective of no nuclear war, and then I added nuclear war to it. I showed you what the different fallout maps. Fallout can go many different directions. Depends on the wind. Depends on the wind, my friends. What's the dosage on pectin? Uh, I have to research that one. So, yeah, everyone needs to go watch your older videos. Thank you. I got tons of material in there, tons of material, hours. I go into great detail on the surviving nuclear war videos. Some of my videos might bore people because I'm going into the science at first, because I want you to understand what rads are, what sieverts are, what the units mean, and then you know what can take you out, and then you know how to shield yourselves from them. I cover all these things, but some people just start from the shielding. you know, it's like a lot of gardening videos. They start with putting seeds in the ground. No, I started with how to prepare your beds, because that's the most important thing. But it may be boring, but it's the most important thing to know, especially if you're growing organically and you're living in a world where you can't go to the store to buy fertilizers and all that junk, which you're not going to get with grid down. That's the way I covered gardening from the very inception of my gardening videos, was how to prepare your beds. And a lot of people didn't appreciate that, but that was the most important thing to know. It wasn't how to plant stuff, it's how to get your beds prepared. That's far more important than how to plant stuff. How to plant stuff is important. How to grow stuff, how to process it. And maybe one day I'll just have a gardening channel. But that is important. So go back to my old videos. There's as old as dirt said, there's a wealth of information in my old videos. And almost nobody's watching them now. And I know I got some new subscribers. And here's the other odd thing. I know I'm being suppressed over here. My Galactic Greg's channel only has 8% as many subscribers as Green Greg's. My Galactic Greg's channel gets 61% as many views as Green Greg's. Back when my channel was 2 years old, I got way more views than I get today. Imagine that. And I was getting tons of subscribers. Now this channel's flat. In fact, I'm losing subscribers right now. I'm getting almost no ad revenue, and there's no super chats. So I would say, by and large, Galactic Greg's is doing better than Green Greg's. It was a much smaller subscriber base. We got 5,000 subscribers, something on that order. It's for your local president. Our local president. Yeah, I've made a ton of videos on how to survive. I made videos on how to grow your garden. I made videos on how to eat wild animals. I made videos on how to purify and sanitize water. I've seen other channels cover a slice of what I covered and get 2 or 3 million views, and I get a couple thousand. So really, I talked about wild lettuce as a painkiller, for example, and I covered 3 different varieties and several different ways to do it, and I get like 100th of the views of somebody else that just talks about one. I talk about EMP, and I talk about the science level, and I get a few views. Somebody comes on who don't know jack diddle, but well, I think this could happen, and they get tons of views. It's like, really? You're wrong. You didn't know what you're talking about. You're actually wrong. And they get tons of views, and I get none. I see, I did a video where I talked about a certain device that everybody is promoting and selling to protect your home from EMP. And I took, this thing's passed all these tests, all these inspections, and this is good. It'll survive 42 MPs, is what they used to say in their ads. I don't know what they claim now. Ton of channels promote that stuff. You don't see me ever selling it. Oh yeah, the uh I understand why some channels sell. They get like $200 every time they sell, and they get like half. Those things sell for $400 a piece, and the guys promoting it get 50% profit. I have not ever had anything I get anything like that for. And I know talking EMP and survival, I could sell a zillion. I'm like hotcakes, but I don't believe in it. I just flat don't believe you. I could have made a ton of money off of that. I've actually unsubscribed from channels promote those things because I think they're hogwash. Claims they make is not substantiated. I did a video where I took their test spec. I took their test and compared it to the spec they said they tested to. And I went down line item And I showed you where they did not match the spec they claimed to test to. Nobody else on YouTube has had the cojones to do it because they've sued people. That company has sued people. So bring it on, buddy, because I just laid out the bare facts. There wasn't no hype. I took their spec, the specs they claim they passed. I took their test reports and went through them line item by line item and compared them. Did it on a video. Nobody else on YouTube has ever done that. How many views I get? How many of the views the people get to selling those things? Then I've shot down a bunch of nutty stuff. The people claim their crust is going to slip every 12,000 years and you're going to get a 2-mile high tidal wave. I've shot that every way you can imagine. If they get whoop views and I get because people want to see nonsense. They don't want to hear the truth. They can't handle the truth. They want to hear nonsense. They want to hear stupid stuff. Yeah, I'll tell you what the government's doing. I've even set up the Freedom Restoration Foundation to help us. And WWIII, we've had some problems with the website. We set up the Survival Tribe Network. I think there's some problems with the website over there now. I've tried to take concrete steps to help people. I pay for the Freedom Restoration Foundation out of my pocket. I pay for that. We've got a group on MeWe. We got a group with over 1,000 members on Facebook. We thought about charging a membership fee and trying to maybe put out a magazine and trying to reach out further, but some of our members felt like that would put us under the control of the IRS, and they don't want no part of it. So yeah, I've taught about the electrical grid, how weak it is. Guys, I'm an electrical engineer. How many rocket scientists do you have in making prepping videos? If anybody doubts that, there's my rocket motor right here. I worked on that rocket too. I worked on all kind of rockets, space stations, satellites, tanks, F-15 aircraft, M1 tank. I've worked on industrial parts washing machines, even designing the electrical controls for those things. Done a lot of different things in my days. Yeah, you could get Arkin. Now, you get an EMP, you can flip a switch off an EMP, will jump the gap. I've designed my solar arrays out here. I'll do some video on that one day. It's going to take some time for me to set that up. Everybody's been asking how to do solar. That's coming. I'm planning to do another channel, guys, where I just talk, no news. It'll be just prepping content. It'll be because even though I got a ton of prepping content on here, people have a hard time finding it because of all the news things. That's what people usually want to watch. I'm going to do another channel, at least I'm planning to, where it's going to just talk about grid down survival, what the threat is and how to survive it. So that's coming. And we've been online too long. Nobody's going to watch this in the morning. Like maybe. Yes. I've had a lot of stellar guests on the show. I need to start doing guests again. Since I've got a camera and some of this. Still haven't got my editing stuff set up. Yeah. And I bought this brand new laptop. It had all this horsepower, and the thing gets hot as a firecracker. And I took it in, turned it in to get it fixed. And even though it's supposed to be on warranty, they still charged me $90, which I was unhappy with. Get it back, and it still gets hot as a firecracker. It's no different. I am not a happy camper. I don't know how long I can use this computer. It's probably going to burn up. It may even catch fire and burn my house up. The lithium-ion batteries in it. I'm really worried about this thing. I am very unhappy with them. And yeah, people says, okay, hold it up, so mount it up where it can breathe underneath it. I do that, and it still gets hot. It gets hot. The fan in it's not good. They've replaced the motherboard, fuzz, and keyboard, but they didn't fix it. I think it's the fans, what I thought to start with. So what I thought to start was what it probably has been the problem all along. And I had to do without it for 3 weeks. It's meant I had to limp on another computer. And it's extremely disruptive to me to change computers. So I don't need that kind of disruption in my life. So I'm not happy with that. Yeah, if y'all want to know about me, just take my name, Greg Allison, or Gregory Allison, or Gregory H. Allison, different varieties of my name, and put the word space in it. Put the word rocket in it. Or how about look up Vostok conspiracy? You'll find that I have been quoted by Buzz Aldrin. How many people on YouTube can claim that? How many people on YouTube have been quoted by Buzz Aldrin? Talking about property rights in space. I've done a lot of stuff with space over the years, much. Please do topic on grid down in cold, snowy, icy weather. Okay, I think that's part of what I've covered. But I'm going to do a whole channel where I'm going to just start introducing. It's just going to be topics like that, purely that, nothing else. There's not going to be any news. No news, no views, just the bare facts. You know, the news and the views, you'll come here or go to Swivelhead News. I do things a little bit more political on Swivelhead News than I do over here. Problem is, all these accounts are tied together. If one channel goes down, YouTube will take them all out, including Galactic Grids. They don't ever talk any politics. They'll take it out too. But YouTube does not like anything that's not loving China. You know, if you're not a communist, they don't like you. So I'm taking a lot of risk here. Sodium ion is much safer, like a Baghdad battery. Well, hey, I got lithium ion batteries in my battery building. All not lithium ion, lead acid. They're all lead acid. Why? Because they don't require battery management control system, battery controllers. Those battery management systems, the BMSs, are all microchips. And the most expensive thing you'll ever put in your solar is your batteries. So why have batteries that the EMP will take you out? I'm planning to get some backups for my solar charge controllers and my inverters. Once I do that, put them in Faraday cage. I haven't got the money to do it yet. Then I'm in good shape. Maybe put a few ferret beads on my power leads to help handle surges. But definitely my system won't pick up an E3 because all my leads are too low. E3 form of EMP. Might be susceptible to E1, but unless we get a burst close to here, which I did see a scenario showing that, which really bugged me. But if it's over Omaha or Kansas, I'm hoping the E1 levels will be low here, that enough that the metal. I got my batteries in the metal building. They are in the metal building. My batteries, my charge controllers, and my inverters are all in the metal building. So I hope that's good enough for. I'm hoping the E1 field strength here will be low, but it might not be, especially these balloon-borne attacks, or if they try to spread out the attacks across the United States, that might not be the case. So I do plan to get backups and put them in Faraday cages over time for that stuff. But most of the stuff, most preppers, all they talk about is protecting electronics. And I'm going, I've done tons of videos talking about getting manual tools because your electronics eventually are going to wear out. All your electrical stuff eventually will wear out. When the grid goes down, you're not getting any more. You got what you got. Game's over. You'll never see it again in your life. Seriously, if we get a serious grid down, you'll never see that stuff again in your life. Once what you got wears out, it's gone. That's why you need manual stuff. It gives you a little edge for a little while. Yeah, it'd be nice to have electrical power for a while. I got electrical power. I'm totally off grid. I am completely off grid here. Anyway, Rags are batteries that was showcased in 1900, 1901 State Fair on the way. Our town got some still working, but they're still taken out of commission a couple of years ago. Wow, that sounds amazing. Yeah. I had a little somewhere. I had a battery, old as dirt, that would run off urine. It was basically a salt type battery, salt water type battery. It would actually run off urine, and that was sold for prepping basically, just so you could have recharge your batteries for your flashlights and things, radios and stuff like that. But it actually ran on urine, and I bought one. I don't know where it is now. I think it might be in my drawers upstairs. I have to look for it. Hey, we got somebody here from Australia. That's good. All right, guys. We've been on here too long. Ain't nobody gonna watch us in the morning now, and I really need some ad revenue for this video. So I ain't got any uh, super chats tonight. We need some ad revenue bad, but the longer I make these videos, the less people are going to watch it. So we need to go. We've had a long conversation here, but hey, it's Thanksgiving. I want everybody to stop, take note, and appreciate the good things in life. For those of you that believe, give thanks to the greater creator, the Lord Jesus. I'm not a religious channel. I'm not here to tell you how to believe. That's why I usually tell you to make peace with your maker, however you say it. So I'm not here to dictate to anybody. Because our purpose here is prepping. A part of prepping is being right with your maker. I thoroughly believe that. So, and don't give up your soul, because that's what they're coming after. All nukes can generate EMPs. The ones that are way up in the atmosphere are worse. Yes, be thankful for your friends, your family. I don't have any family in this area, but I got a lot of good friends, and I will be going and having Thanksgiving dinner with some friends. The senior center here has a huge, nice Thanksgiving meal every year, and I've just had my third one of those. So, yes, sir, I've been coming in and out of here since early summer of 2023. I bought this place in 2020. My first trip out here was Thanksgiving weekend in 2019. And we had 6.5 inches of snow. Last year, or this year exactly, this year on the 19th of April, I got 7.5 inches of snow out here. But I'm in a desert. We don't get a lot of snow because we don't get a lot of moisture. We don't get a lot of rain. But sometimes it can be interesting. I live a mile high. This isn't like Phoenix and Tucson. I'm not in an oven here. So there's a lot to be thankful for. And I think having an attitude of gratitude will buy you mental sanity and make you better appreciated by your friends, families, and neighbors and the good Lord above. An attitude of gratitude will take you a long way in life. So have an attitude of gratitude. I know we all get in a snit every now and then, but try to have an attitude of gratitude as much as you can. And this is a special day where we recognize that. Yes, God bless America and all of our nations here. We got people from many nations here tonight. People from Australia, Canada, and Thanksgiving is an American holiday, but we should be giving thanks every day. As all the son said earlier, we should be giving thanks every day. We should be thankful that we're humans, that we have the brains, the minds that we have, that we have opposable thumbs. We can do things. Our little kitty cats and dogs think we're gods just because we got opposable thumbs and walk on two legs. Although we can't run like a gazelle or a dog or about any other animal, we're slow, but we can run for a long time. So at least when we're younger. All righty, folks. We've been on way too long. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. I do have to get up in the morning. I got some things I got to do. So it'll take me about an hour just to wrap up what I do here tonight. Maybe in 2 hours. There may be sun's maybe coming up before I lay my head down, which means I'll be shorting out. So I want to thank everybody for being here. I'll thank you, mods, for keeping the channel clean. And I guess Colorado Jenny, you still with us? She might have. It's late. She might have had to turn in, but she did post a lot of stuff for us, and I appreciate that. I appreciate all you people. We're friends. We're family, as Zen Jamin always says when he comes in. So thank you all for being here. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone. And with that, I'm going to say, uh, share my channel, share my videos, comment. We need all the help with the algorithms. Hey, Fazioli, how you doing? Hi and bye. Yes, sir, Fazioli. Good to see you. So, gotta come over here where I end the video here. So once again, thank you all for watching, and I appreciate you all. I really do. Subscribe, bang the bell if you're not already done so. Share my videos, comment, and with that, I'm going to say, hey, it's time for giving thanks. Christmas is coming. Ho, ho, ho.